Welcome everybody. I'd like to introduce to you all Jonathan Maywood, who is a composer and pianist here in Edmonton. Uh, Over here we've got Zuzana Simurdova and myself, Mikolaj Warszynski,
As a ZUMI Piano Duo.
ZUMI Piano Duo. Thank you. And we are here to interview Jonathan about his piece that we recently played called Puzzling for Piano for Hands, which was written for us, and we're happy to have it tried out. And so, Jonathan, first of all, if we could talk a little bit about the piece Puzzling, just to get us started and how it came to be.
Yeah, I'll start with that. That piece, during the pandemic, I was watching a lot of YouTube videos, and I really like these YouTube videos about making puzzles and things like that, or solving them. And they have all these intricate gears and compartments inside of them, really interesting, like secret doors. So the whole point of this piece was me just playing around with the idea of fitting all these different musical ideas together, like building blocks. So you have the left hand and the right hand in one of the players, and then you have the other left hand, right hand all playing and then coming together in this beautiful harmony and textures. And you also get
The syncopations.
yeah, syncopations and things like that. Yeah, and it's really fun to play. I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
We were kind of marveling at the
It's-
repetitions of those building blocks as they get more and more intense. And
Yeah, because the energy is accumulating, but it's very fun. It's fun to play. So.
and there's those little groups where you have to add a few bars with, or a few rounds of repetitions with one hand and add another, right? It compiles on each
Yeah,
other.
and it brings different colors as well. So it doesn't stand. It doesn't stay only with a bass, and it's just progressing.
Yeah, so yeah, I really enjoyed that. I love that sound that you can create. It can sound so complicated, but it really isn't too complicated though. It's actually just the complication just comes from all the different layers just coming together. And that's something I really like about composing for four hands. And that was the first time I've done it. I've never done it before. So it was really interesting just learning about how to do
Yeah,
that.
because I remember when I heard your trio at the concert called the Tally Ringing, and I was like, wow, that was an interesting composition. That'll be great. Maybe such a great young composer. Maybe he has a song for four hands or two pianos. So.
But you said that this puzzling piece comes out of earlier fascination with these puzzles. How long was it germinating?
It wasn't germinating too much. I just sat down with the idea and
Yeah, I remember that was so quick because I just approached you. I was thinking maybe he will write a piece. It will take a half of year or 1 year.
Yeah.
It was just a month.
Yeah.
I was receiving the email and looking at the score, and I felt okay, yeah, it fits in the hand. It has lots of interesting patterns. Yeah, we should try it on. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you did. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Yeah, the inspiration came from you just telling me I want this.
Yeah, so you never know,
So
you know.
but the puzzling also was cross inspiration, right?
That just came with it
Yeah.
because I was just well, what could I do with four hands? Well, there's an extra complexity there,
Yeah.
so I just wanted to make it really an energetic song, and that just came out of me just improvising on the piano and coming up with these different patterns and playing with polyphony and things like that.
And you said Steve Wright was also important for that.
Oh yeah, Steve Wright was huge inspiration. Learned about him when I was going to Grant McEwen and things like that. And so I really liked that piece in C.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful how it's similar in some ways because you're taking simple lines. In that song, in that piece of music, it's more you have the individual pieces and they're all interacting with each other. It's sort of similar with how you're interacting with each other with how you're playing, is that it's just building layers and then people can come in and out in C, which is kind of interesting. It has a very big build in that piece of music.
And also we were lucky to just receive another piece that you recently wrote for piano duo It's called Can't Escape Reality, and we've had a sneak peek at the score. It's so wonderful, looks really nicely, plays off each other again, like the puzzling in a certain way, right? Can you talk a little bit about this new piece?
Yeah, this piece has been in progress for a long time. I started it probably when I was going to Grant MacEwan, so probably about, I'm not sure, maybe 10 years ago, and I never really completed it, and it just sat there on my computer, and then just like in the last year, I was just like, okay, I'm gonna sit down, what can I do with this piece? So I was just like, it was originally just for one piano player, and I was just like, well, I could do it four hands again. And
Definitely.
So I added that in and eventually finished it. It has 2 or 3 different parts.
Yeah, it looks a little bit more advanced, right?
Yeah, it has like a
Really
fast,
exciting though.
yeah, it has a fast intro, and then it just goes into this like dream state, and then it goes right back into the
Wow.
quick finish.
Well, that must be a great satisfaction to have closure on a project like that.
Oh yeah,
That's wonderful.
for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, you get inspired at certain times. You like play around with it, and you're like, what can I do with this piece? And then it just after that, it just all fell into place. So that one's been a long time.
Yeah, it's good that it wasn't a computer.
Yeah.
Because sometimes there's a handwriting and it's like, oh, where did I put it? Can I find it?
Yeah, that's
It's
right.
a-
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
good
so-
that
Yeah.
computers disable that
and
information.
it's also good to read it, because sometimes when I'm like, I don't mind handwriting, but it's really if the notes are sometimes it's really difficult to read it. So it helps a lot.
That's right.
Actually.
So the trio pieces that you were talking about that spurred this new collaboration, and then we had puzzling. Those pieces were from a 2019 concert, I think, for Music and Art Society. It was myself and my mother and a cellist, I guess Amy. We were playing the Ocean Reflections and the Apprehensions, 2 beautiful piano trio works. And from that, this kind of idea came to get a piano duo. And so you're writing in these interesting genres for acoustic instruments. I also hear that you've got some interesting projects with electronic music.
Here and there, like I do a lot of collaboration with my sister, where I do use a lot of like I use like Cubase to like make like a melody for her. And
This is
like
Anastasia.
Yeah, Anastasia Maywood. Yeah, she's my sister, and yeah, I've worked with her many times. with her, with
So they dance to your music.
yeah, they dance to the music.
that's wonderful.
So she choreographs the music, and I just fit the music with what she like presents me. So
Great.
so it's a little bit tricky at times, because I have to like interpret what the dance is about and like get some feedback from her, and we sort of have this beautiful collaboration. So I've done many pieces with her.
Right on.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah.
And then I hear there's something new to look out for in the future is some work with video games.
Oh yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So during the pandemic, as with a lot of people, you had all this free time, right? So I sat down on the computer and started to learn about like different things. So it started off with like learning how to make like a website, and then I was like, okay, that's cool. Like, and I've always been interested in computer programming and also like 3D graphics.
Like
as well.
HTML, you mean?
Yeah, HTML first. Yeah, yeah. I started with that, just learning about coding, and then I just like somehow I like moved from there to a computer program called Blender, and Blender is a free open source program that you can make 3D graphics in, and you can also make games in. So I got interested in it, and I started making all like these building blocks of like how to make like a character move, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. But then but then I found out it was pretty limiting in Blender, so I went on to use Unity instead. And Unity is like it's a very popular gaming engine, and I just followed tutorials, started getting ideas, and I was like, oh, I actually really enjoy this. So yeah, the pandemic can like
Yeah,
It
it
kickstarts a lot of different
It does
ideas.
kickstart.
and it's interesting how everything is evolving.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's just grew up till now. Like I'm not using Unity anymore. I'm using another open source program called Godot,
Mhm.
and it's great. I love it.
So you're actually making the games as well?
Oh yeah, I'm making the games.
Oh.
Yep, I made like
That's-
probably like one stage in Unity, but then I
Yeah.
sort of like got sick of Unity and tried out this
Yeah.
new engine, and now
Have people been playing your games yet or not? At
Oh,
this
no.
point?
not yet.
Starting out.
No, I'm still working on them.
Yeah.
I'm making like a really simple platformer.
Mhm.
Mm.
It's
Or to discover music, how to make music for video games.
uh,
Because they are so engaging, you know.
oh yeah,
It's a,
for sure.
I don't play games, but I did as a teenager.
Mm.
And you know, and some of my students, they know if I'm playing some tunes by Tchaikovsky for them,
Mm.
and they didn't know that it's Tchaikovsky, but they knew that. Oh, I know it from the game.
Right, that's
you know. So I was like, wow, you never know. It's just
Yeah.
a different generations, different touch.
Mm.
You
Yeah,
can
oh,
always
yeah, sure.
influence.
Mhm.
Yeah, like I have been thinking about the music for my game, but that's something that's sort of like just in the back of my mind right now.
Mm.
Like doing everything else is the hard part.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
yeah,
doing all the
yeah.
art, the story.
Oh,
the-
that's
Wow, that's
It
all
takes-
encompassing.
takes a long time.
lots
yeah,
of energy.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just right now it's like a hobby, but it might become something more
Yeah, you never
later
know.
on. It's just like
Yeah,
And plus
maybe
the
with the
scientific, the mathematics behind it and
oh
everything.
yeah, yeah, the coding and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to learn all of that from scratch. I
yeah.
did take some courses at
It reminds me.
but that didn't really go into gaming sort of like
Yeah.
programming.
Now it's also probably accelerated.
But it's
so
like the,
much.
Oh, yeah.
it's like the puzzling, you know, when you were
Mhm.
mentioning like the secret door there. So I was
Yeah.
thinking like, yeah, that could be like a video game
Yeah,
to discover different
Yeah,
puzzles,
for
and it's
Yeah,
just,
yeah. How those
Yeah.
parts interlock, interrelate.
or also how to learn things, you know,
Oh,
just
yeah.
to think differently.
yeah. Game design is
It's
a huge thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
still learning.
It's
Just been
yeah,
doing
it's
it for
good.
about 2 years now. So
Yeah.
Right on.
It's great.
Well, it's been wonderful catching up with you today, Jonathan.
Yeah, thank
hear
you for
about all-
coming, and
Great
thank
project.
you for all your great music.
yeah, thank
Yeah.
you for having me. It was really nice.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, everybody, thank you again, and thanks to
Yeah.
Jonathan for a beautiful interview. See you next time.